Well, one of the storylines that's kind of got swept under the rug here with Russell Westbrook becoming the new Los Angeles Lakers starting point guard is Dennis Schroder. You know, if you're a shooter, you're like, dang, a guy that I used to play with in Oklahoma City and Brody, he done took my job. With Westbrook and Dennis Schroder is out of L.A. You're not paying both of those guys to be your point guard. Schroder's out. There's no way he comes back to L.A. And think about it this way, right? Schroder had a 3-year deal with the Lakers on the table. And he turned it down, man. What was it? It was an $80-something odd million deal, and he turned it down. I wonder, does he regret that decision? Because now it's like, oh no, where's Schroder's going to end up at? He's competing with the likes of Kyle Lowry, Lonzo Ball, you know, some of these, you know, Kyle Lowry's a champion. Lonzo Ball's only 23, and he's more athletic than Schroder. And Lonzo's been a starter more than Schroder has been. There are a lot of pretty good point guards available on the market. The Spencer Dinwiddies of the world. We'll see what happens with Chris Paul. You look up and you're like, who's going to pay Dennis? You ain't heard Schroder say one bad thing about the Lakers after essentially letting him go by bringing in Westbrook. And here's the reason why. Dennis the Menace might need the Lakers for one last thing on his way out. He might need the Lakers to be a part of a sign and trade. If the market dries up for Dennis Schroder, all right, listen to your boy. Trust me on this. Here's what he's going to need the Lakers to do. He is going to need the Lakers to be interested in one of these teams that don't have a lot of cap space to sign Dennis Schroder straight up and down, right? That need a point guard out there. And the only reason why is if the Lakers wanted to go deeper in that luxury tax, like deep in it, remember, they're already paying LeBron, Westbrook, and Anthony Davis over $40 million each. So if the Lakers were like, hey, we're willing to go deeper in the luxury tax, they can't just go out and sign free agents, but they could bring them in via trade. So essentially what it would be is the Lakers sign Dennis Schroder. They can still sign their guys, which is the Lakers own Schroder's birds rights. They could sign Dennis Schroder and trade him to a team that maybe doesn't have the cap room to bring in a Dennis Schroder straight up and down. So I don't know. I'm just going to throw a team out there. Who knows? The San Antonio Spurs. If the Lakers wanted to, they could sign Schroder, trade him to San Antonio, and pick a couple pieces off of their roster. You know, whatever the team is, whatever team that had interested in Schroder but doesn't have enough cap room up and down. Because if you got the cap space, you want to keep your guys, right? You don't want to lose your guys. But if you don't have the cap space and Schroder's your guy, then you would need the Lakers to sign off on this and be willing to take some of these players back, go deeper in that luxury tax, which they may not want to do. But the Lakers only got like 4 guys on their roster right now. They need bodies. And if they're willing to pay that luxury tax bill, which pay an even higher luxury tax bill, they're already in a luxury tax, then maybe, just maybe, they want to pick a couple role players off somebody's roster. We should see. But Dennis ain't going to say nothing bad about the Lakers just yet because he might need them as he enters free agency.